for fuck. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I can't even take this one seriously, to be honest. I mean, all you can do is laugh. It's all you can do in times like this. If there has ever been a game to summarise and just put into a perfect picture what Celtic are in Europe, it's that. It's the 90 minutes of football that we just watched there. You could not write it. Typical Celtic is what comes to mind. Feyenoord 2, Celtic 0. It's an unsuccessful trip to the Kuip. One that I'm going to try and forget very, very soon. Celtic end the game with 9 men. I can't stop laughing. And I know it's serious times. We should be putting our game face on here. We should be severely disappointed. And trust me, I am. But if you don't laugh through something like that, there's no much else you can do to keep yourself sane. You need to laugh. Because it's just... It's this point, it just feels like every year. It transcends managers. It transcends teams. It's just Celtic, baby. Every year... we come up with a way to outdo ourselves and embarrass ourselves even more on the European stage. And tonight is far bigger and better than I could have imagined us doing. I think that I would have rather been spanked 4-5-0 tonight while we kept 11 men on the park, rather go through the aggravating pain of what that was we just watched. And it really is just so frustrating because... at times, Celtic offer you so much hope. You're going very almost into half-time thinking to yourself, yeah, listen, this isn't out of our reach today. And then by the 90th minute, you're left feeling like an absolute plonker. So, yeah, it's frustrating. It's painful, once again, to take. Can we take any positives from that game? Christ, we'll try through this video, trust me. But it's going to be through a lot of reflecting on everything that went wrong tonight. And that was effectively the full game. Celtic rarely put a foot right, it felt. And we're left just asking ourselves the same question we do every single year. How do we make this possible? Why does Celtic keep doing this? Because it's never going to change, it feels like. And it's got to a point where it's really just hard to take it, to be honest. Let's try and go through this game and talk about everything that's happened. As difficult as that may be, and as painful as that may be, we'll somehow get through it all. So bear with me. I'm sure you're feeling the exact same as me right now. The disappointment is radiating from my body, but we can do this. And it's so frustrating because that first half was pretty much going as well as you would like a first half away from home in the Champions League to go. We played a side tonight who were and Martin O'Neill put it perfectly in the punditry, they were ordinary. They weren't anything special. And I tip my hat to Feyenoord, the worthy winners tonight. They were the better side. They deserved all 3 points. There's absolutely no denying that. But I think even the most honest of Feyenoord fans could agree in saying they weren't great. And Celtic were doing a good job in that first half. Listen, I think we were a bit timid. I think that we had to up the intensity a little bit. But we done a good job at keeping them out. They never had any great chances. Defensively, I thought we were dealing with things very, very well. Granted, we weren't offering too much going forward, but Feyenoord weren't great. And I would have chewed your hand off for 0-0 at half-time, away from home in Europe to the Dutch champions. I was sitting there with a smile on my face before that free kick was given, thinking, this is good, this is okay. We can build off of this in this second half, and this game is by no means Feyenoord's. You know, at that point, by the 44th minute, I was thinking, this is anybody's game, and Celtic have done enough to keep this going and get something from it in the second half. And then in typical Celtic fashion, we concede a goal, which no professional side should be conceding in Europe's elite competition. And that's so frustrating. The free kick, number one, the manner of giving away the free kick at the time of giving away the free kick makes it even harder to accept. We give away a stupid foul in a decent enough area for an opportunity, right on the brink of half-time. And from that moment, you know in your head something's going to happen. Me and my dad, we both looked at each other and said, I've got a bad feeling. Everybody in my group chat, I've got a bad feeling. Everybody had a bad feeling, because why? It's Celtic in Europe, baby, once again. And then bang. The worst possible time to concede a goal. It happens. And in the fashion that it happens, it's just so tough to take. The wall parts like the Red Sea. Joe Hart is 500 miles from the required position you want your goalkeeper to be in. He leaves himself no chance. And for as far out that the free kick is, it's made so easy for Stengs. Because he knows that if he places that perfectly, which he did, and he's a good player, and he knows if he places that perfectly, that Joe Hart's going to have no chance to save it. He's far too... where is he? Why is he there? And he has to shuffle, he has to stretch, and it's just not enough. Joe Hart's not a Fraser Forster. He's not 6'7" tall. You know, he's not got that same height that a goalkeeper who'd maybe reach that does. He's not got that same athletic ability either at the age of 35, 36. He needs to prepare himself better for a free kick like that. You can't take any presumptions, no matter how far away it is, no matter who's taking it, no matter the circumstances. You've got to prepare yourself better, and Joe Hart's preparation for it is what costs us the goal. And he's sitting up there behind me. I feel like covering him up for it, but it's terrible. It's amateurish, and it's yet again another Joe Hart blunder, which has cost us dearly in the Champions League. It changed the entire narrative of the game. And he's not the only one to blame. He does take the majority of the blame. The wall as well. I don't know why Kyogo's in it. Wee tiny Kyogo in the wall. What's he meant to do? The part like the Red Sea, as I've already said, there's a shared responsibility there. But Joe Hart's got to take the majority of the blame. And it's another mistake that changes a narrative. And from that moment, we knew we were going to be in for a tougher night. Whereas if we don't concede that goal, and there's no point in thinking about hypotheticals, and there's no point in trying to rewrite the game, we lost. We gave away the goal and we lost. But if you go into half-time 0-0, psychologically, the game is entirely different. It gave Feyenoord so much confidence to begin the second half. It left Celtic in a position where they had to chase the game in the second half, whereas we could have went out and we could have done more of the same as what we were doing in the first. Because in the first half, I honestly don't think we were that bad. As I said, a bit timid, a little bit naive at times. We had to up that intensity, but that's something I truly believe that we would have done if the game grew in the second half. Well, it was still at 0-0, but we threw away any opportunity of that by giving away such a daft, cheap, and easy goal. And it's so frustrating. I think to try and take some positives, I think in the first half, and we're going to talk about Lagerbielke, we're going to talk about him because the red card is obviously massive. But in the first half, defensively, Scales and Lagerbielke were having a solid enough game together. I thought they had a good wee partnership going on. They were dealing with things reasonably well, especially Scales. I thought he was the better of the two. I thought he was really good in that first half. But defensively, we were doing all we could. We were forcing Feyenoord to shoot from range. We weren't letting them in for any, clear-cut chances or anything like that. And then we go away and we give away that goal. So I was, up until that 45th minute, in a really happy place with how the first half had gone. Granted, it wasn't anything amazing on our part, but yeah, you've got to take in circumstance, haven't you? I thought the Rio Hatate looked off it in the first half. Clearly isn't fit enough yet, but still wasn't good enough from him. He just didn't have enough in his legs, and he didn't look as though he wanted it enough. Thought Matt O'Reilly was good. Thought Cal McGregor was a wee bit off it. But generally, first half, up until that goal, I didn't have a lot of complaints. But you know what it sets us up for in the second half? 3, 2, 1. I really don't want to talk about the second half. I really don't want to. I mean, 2 red cards. 2. Not 1. 2. I mean, you can't believe it, can you? Oh, you can. The Celtic in Europe. Lagerbielke off. Holm off. Both in the space of 5 minutes. Let's jump to the red cards for a minute and come back to it. Joe Hart saved a penalty. Joe Hart saved a penalty. I have never seen something more typical of Celtic in Europe than Joe Hart finally saving a penalty while we're already 1-0 down to a blunder of a goal and we're down to 10 men. It could be the most useless penalty save that we've had in our existence because we weren't able to, get anything from it because we're down to 10 men. And that's so frustrating. But it's just typical. That sums up the night. Down to 10 men, conceded a blunder, but we save a penalty. It offered a slight chance of hope. And then 5 minutes later, Thiago Holm is sent off. It's hilarious. As I said, if you can't laugh about it, my God. But that sums it all up. Because even though the penalty save, as I've said, it was useless because it was hard to get anything from it being down to 10 men. It at least offered us something. Maybe a wee bit of motivation. Maybe a chance to get back in the game. But then 5 minutes later, you're down to 9 men. The red cards are once again painful. I must agree with John Hartson. I think Lagerbielke's is harsh. I can understand why it's been given, and I'm not going to sit here and argue it and complain about it because what's the point? But I think his was harsh. It was unlucky. His hands are all over the place ultimately, and that's what costs it. So I'm not going to sit here and complain. It is what it is. But Holmes is really rash, really silly. It's a definite red card. And that's obviously the problem with going into these games with project players and younger guys who aren't experienced and they don't have the footballing IQ or the temperament to be prepared for these games. They're not quite there yet. And that's not me saying that Thiago Holm and even Lagerbielke don't have a footballing IQ and they're not good players. I'm not saying that at all, but it separates men from boys. When you're going to Champions League games and the stakes are high and you're already down to 10 men and you're chasing a game, and you're rushing into a challenge like that, getting yourself a straight red card, it begs the question, did we make the right summer signings? And I know for a lot of people we didn't, and that's going to be a big topic from tonight's game. I don't really want to dwell on that too much tonight. I'd rather wait till tomorrow to talk about that because this is really just the match review. But it does beg the question, with all that money sitting in the bank that Celtic published in those financial reports, why have they only been signed on project players? Now, I was one who tried to remain optimistic about the transfer window, and I still want to. I want to try and take this game in perspective, and rather than the knee-jerking and getting overly negative about it. But it does beg that question, whether or not we spent the money wisely and why we didn't sign more experienced players. The transfer model that Celtic have going on is successful. We know that. We've made a lot of money, and that's been published. But is it the right transfer model in terms of success and succeeding in Europe? No, it's not, and that's been proven year after year. So there's so much to weigh up from that, but the red card, it was the correct decision for Holm. It was a poor decision from Holm to go in the way he did, and that there and then killed the game for us. Less than 10 minutes later, they're up 2-0, and it's game over. We actually got away with things. It could have been 3, it could have been 4, 2 goals chopped off to offside. I think all things considered, ending the game at only 2-0 with 9 men on the park is a bit of a victory in itself for Celtic. Not a positive one, but it could have been far worse. I think that if that was against any other side and it wasn't a Feyenoord side who weren't firing in all cylinders tonight, they weren't anything great. If that was against the Atletico, Lazio or Feyenoord on a different day, that could have been messy tonight. That could have been a real tough one to take. I think we got off pretty light. And it needs to be addressed. It needs to be sorted. The ill discipline, the mistake, once again, at the end of the first half. All of these things have to be addressed. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers will be very happy with what he's seen tonight. Yeah, there was positives in that first half, but overall, I don't know how he could be. Callum McGregor has spoke in his post-match press or interview, and he said it's disappointing, but we have 5 games to try and fix it. Yeah, and listen, I'm trying to take things into perspective, and I'm trying not to be overly negative. You know me, I try my best not to be. And I do agree with him. I think we have 5 games to fix it, and what I've seen with 11 men on the park tonight, I have faith we can fix it. That's a Feyenoord side. If they come like that to Celtic Park, we should, not could, we should be beating them. I have faith that we can take the game to Lazio at Celtic Park. Atletico's tough, but we can take the game to them. I don't expect us to go and win all these games, absolutely not. But we have the potential there to do it. But we need to fix all of these fundamental issues that have been going on throughout managers, throughout time periods and squads. We need to get to the bottom of it, and we need to eradicate it, because with that there, we're never, ever going to have a hope in hell. So, yeah, we've got 5 games to fix it, but really, for me, it needs to be fixed in the next game. We need to go to Celtic Park against Lazio now, and we need to win. Listen, a draw would be a positive result, I guess, but after that tonight, it doesn't feel like enough. So, frustrating all round. I'll talk about the bigger picture tomorrow. As I said, I want to try and leave this more to the match review side of it. So I know a lot of people are raising questions about the board and the signings and the money being spent and the financial reports and everything like that. I know that's all a big topic of conversation, hot off the press after that result, but we'll try and talk about that more in tomorrow's video. But overall tonight, I'm just kind of tired and disappointed with how these games always go for Celtic and how we dig our own graves. You know, to go down to 9 men and give away a goal like that at the end of the first half, it's just, it's just so annoying. But with 11 on the park, that first 44 minutes, I try my best to have a positive outlook, I suppose, but it's really tough. It's really tough. But aye, that's going to do it for tonight. I'm going to leave it there because it's a longer match reaction than I would normally do. I don't even feel like I've scratched the surface. I really don't, but where do you begin and where do you end with that? It's a question. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.